Happy 4th of July to everybody out there listening to this right now. Hope everybody's having a great day, staying safe today, not getting too much of a sunburn, and hopefully enjoying some food and fun times with your friends and family. I do have a little bit of a long video clip here for you that I cut up last night. It is the brutal takedown of Karine Jean-Pierre with about 40 loaded questions. Every one of them involved Biden's cognitive ability, and she couldn't handle them. Instead of making y'all have to listen to the whole hour of her going, I cut it up best I could into the shortest clips I could. But she said some really crazy things here trying to defend Biden. If you haven't already heard, if you couldn't stomach a whole hour of this, I did the best I could with the highlights on this. But before I get into that, I do got a couple other clips here for you. So stick around to the end. Mr. Steve Scavino has done put out another couple of great ads, Trump ads, of course. So enjoy. Here we go, folks. I'm going to jump out of here and just tell everybody have a great day. We got several minutes of Karine Jean-Pierre, otherwise known as Curly Fries, having a bad day. I love it. I love it. Let's give her some salty tears down in the comment section. Let everybody know how you feel too. Just put it in the comment section. Tell me what you think about this little liar. Do you feel sorry for it at this point? I don't. Bidens are getting just what they deserve. The Democrats are getting just what they deserve. And it feels like Independence Day, even on days that it's not the 4th. It felt like Independence Day to me yesterday, just due to all the wind we've been getting here lately. God is in control. Have a great day. Please enjoy the video.
To take your questions, Sung Min.
Thank you. Last night at the fundraiser, the president blamed jet lag for his debate performance, but he was back stateside for well over a week. So does he really need more than a week and a half to recover from traveling in Europe? And is that really what he thinks caused his poor performance?
So yeah, just a couple of things, and I do appreciate the question because you know the president has certainly spoken to this many times about the debate, and so he had an opportunity to do that in front of supporters, and as you just stated, he did that. He owned that the debate was not his best night, and he said himself it's not an excuse, but it's an explanation. I was standing here yesterday, and many people were asking why and what's the explanation. And that's what you heard from him. Look, I think, in addition to the two major trips, he was also continued to do his presidential duties. He worked late in doing that, and he also prepared for the debate. And on top of that, there was obviously the jet lag, as you just asked about, and also he had a cold. And you all heard directly, you heard from him during the debate. He had a hoarse voice. Many of you reached out to me and my team and some other members of the White House asking what was going on. We confirmed that he had a cold. And so I think those two things, continuing obviously to do his duties as commander-in-chief, as the president. And so I think some of you here in this room can certainly relate to, what could happen when you're having an important moment and you're not feeling well, and also you wish you could have done better. I don't think it's a new excuse. I think some of your colleagues reached out to us about the schedule. Some of your colleagues asked if the schedule was too strenuous or was it because of the jet lag, and so we are laying out and explaining exactly what happened. You heard from the president, you've heard from me, and it was indeed a schedule where the president traveled 6 time zones forward to G7 in Italy, 9 time zones back to LA, and 3 time zones forward again to DC. That's something that one of the print pooler on that day laid out for all of you and those who read the pool notes. And on top of that, he did have a cold. So it is an explanation. I don't think it is an addition. I don't think we certainly don't want to explain this away. But you all asked me for an explanation yesterday. The president gave that directly yesterday to his supporters. He wanted to make sure, knowing that all of you would get that information as he's speaking to his supporters last night. Sure. Looking around, and we happened to see the president, and he said they were strong conversation. And by the way, he looks great. The vice president's great, and they are ready to continue working on behalf of the American people. Yeah, check.
Thank you, Karine.
What does the president do outside the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m.?
Well, you heard him speak to supporters yesterday outside of 4 p.m. I knew that the day after in North Carolina, the president spoke to his debate performance. He did. He talked about it. He gave, his thoughts. He also stated that, look, I'm not a young man. He said that. I'm not as a smooth talker as I used to be. I don't walk easily as I used to be, and I don't debate as well as I used to. He said this, and so he owned up to it on Friday, the day after the debate, that afternoon. And so we didn't wait. Now, as far as engagement, look, that is something certainly the campaign can speak to more.
Clear-eyed about what it takes to stay in the race and what it would take for him to drop out.
The president is clear-eyed, and he is staying in the race. I don't have anything else beyond that. He's staying in the race. That is what the president is promised to do. That is what he wants to continue to work on, the successes that he's had. His record is unprecedented record, and that is what the president is focused on, continuing to deliver for the American people. And he looks forward to doing that. Go ahead.
The NATO summit is coming up next week.
Yes, ma'am.
Is the president frustrated that this debate over the presidential election could cast a shadow over your goals for the NATO summit? Has he made any effort to reach out to the NATO leaders that will be coming to sort of assure them that this isn't going to derail that agenda?
So look, as you stated, next week the president's going to host. The Chiefs of Staff door is open, and is open to hearing directly from them any questions or any concerns. And I think that's what you do as a leader.
Suspend his campaign, that he would also resign. Are there any discussions about
absolutely
the vice
not.
president assuming his duties?
Absolutely not. Go ahead, Kelly.
Does the president have a duty to review data, like polling information that's coming in, donor information, the fears and concerns or anxieties expressed by Democrats? Does he have a duty to review what's happening now?
When you say a duty, can you say more about the duty
You're saying
piece?
that he's absolutely running.
Yeah. And he's able to do that because of his experience, because of his wisdom. And I think that's all connected as well. We can't forget that. And it's also hypothetical. And so I also want to be really mindful here. So he had a rigorous travel. We talk about it sometimes. I think I've mentioned this with some of your colleagues, that he has especially when he travels abroad, it's a pretty rigorous travel. We get tired looking at him doing his meetings and traveling. And so I think that's what he was speaking to. And I don't think it has a toll on, regardless of what age you are, it has a toll on you, that type of travel. Okay.
Thank you. There's no question that international travel can be rigorous. I think the confusion is that he's still suffering from the effects of that nearly 2 weeks later. So can you articulate a little bit about, do you guys usually have accommodations for him after he does a trip, that he's going to have jet lag for that long a period of time?
So can you, when you say 2 weeks later, what do you mean?
Well, the debate, he arrives back in the United States 12 or 13 days before the debate. So his explanation for a poor debate performance is jet lag.
So what I want to say is it's the jet lag and also the cold, right? It is the two things and that occurred. And you all heard it in his voice when he did the debate, right? And it is not even something that we shared ahead of time. You heard it in his voice and we confirmed it. And I think that's important to note as well. It is the jet lag and the cold. But I want to be really clear here. This is not an excuse, right? And we understand what supporters saw, what the American people saw, and what you all saw. And so we wanted to give an explanation. So I don't want to get into this, are you giving this excuse, not an excuse? We're giving you what our explanation was. We want to continue to make sure that we do everything that we can to deliver for the American people. That's what we're going to continue to do.
I also wanted to ask just about the schedule again.
Yeah.
Because a lot of high-level Democrats, I think, were concerned with the debate performance, but they've also been almost just as or more concerned about the response since then, that he hasn't done more. He spoke for 4 minutes in public on Monday evening on the Supreme Court decision, and he spoke for about 10 minutes in public yesterday with the emergency weather situation.
And he's going to speak today. He's going to go to Wisconsin. He's going to go to Pennsylvania.
But it truly is an emergency situation. It's taking almost a week for him to sort of address it. When there's natural disasters, when there's other things happening, he wants to get in front of the cameras and speak to it. In this case, there seems to be multiple days.
Matt, I would disagree with you. He did address it. He addressed it on Friday in North. Michael.
Next screen. If President Biden was fatigued during the debate because of overseas travel that was 12 days beforehand, like he said he was last night, doesn't that raise questions about his ability to effectively serve a second term until he's 86 years old?
Well, I mean, look, I think there's multiple factors here to consider. There was the travel. The travel led to a cold. And I think that matters as well. And I think we've all been there. We've all been there. It is not unusual. And what the president did is he pushed through. He did. He pushed forward and he pushed through.
You didn't mention the travel, the jet lag, the foreign trip. So I think you can understand why it was a little bit puzzling to hear the president mentioning that as his explanation for the first time last night. I'm just, can you clarify whether when you took the podium yesterday, did you not know that that was a major
And I want to
factor?
say that is my bad. That is part of definitely part of the explanation of.
The president had any medical exams since his last annual physical in February.
And we were able to talk to his doctor about that, and that is a no.
He hasn't had any kind of medical exam.
No.
So the White House has said no to releasing the full results of that annual. Said no to making Dr. O'Connor available for questions from us. No to releasing any other information that would shed some more light on the president's health. I guess I'm just wondering if now is not the time for full transparency. When is?
So I would say, MJ, to your question, that what we have released over the past 3 years, every year since he's been in office, has been transparent, and it has been comprehensive. It has been one of the most transparent. We have been one of the most transparent administration when it comes to medical records. That is what we've been able to do. And I would add that it is not the norm to bring the doctor to the podium. That is not the norm. So they can get to a resolution here, and that's what we call for. Okay. Oh. No, go ahead.
Thanks, Ray. I just wanted to get to your answer to Raquel a few moments ago. You talked about there being a lot at stake, which I think.
I'm trying to be mindful. But
I'm also trying to phrase the question in a way that you can answer.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
But I think millions and millions of Americans would agree with that assessment that there's a lot at stake.
Yeah, and I agree. That's what I said. It's not just diplomats, but it's also Americans here.
Right, and the president and you and others in the administration have acknowledged he didn't have a good night at the debate. Yeah. Is within his reaction to his own performance, does he think he let people down?
Look, this is certainly a president that I will say, and if you know Joe Biden, you know him as a senator and as vice president. He's very sensitive to how people feel, right? And he's very aware of that. I think he has that IQ that is certainly incredibly important as a president, to be able to feel people's pains, There's a lot at stake right now. There is. And I think that's why the president fights day in and day out. Precedent. It is. It's a dangerous precedent. It's 3 years. German Chancellor Scholz. I think that Joe Biden is someone who is very clear, who knows exactly what he is doing, and who is one of the most experienced politicians in the world, especially when it comes to international politics. The Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu. I have had more than a dozen phone conversations, extended phone conversations with President Biden. He also came on a visit to Israel during wartime, which is an historic first. I found him very clear and very focused. I mean, these are leaders that he has had extensive engagement with over the past 3 years. My team and I got to see him in the vice president. He's great. He's like in a great mood, ready to get things going. He's going to do the Medal of Honor.
I am here as your president to proclaim before the country and before the world, this monument will never be desecrated. These heroes will never be defaced. Their legacy will never, ever be destroyed. Their achievements will never be forgotten. And Mount Rushmore will stand forever as an eternal tribute to our forefathers and to our freedom. Those who seek to erase our heritage want Americans to forget our pride and our great dignity so that we can no longer understand ourselves or America's destiny. My fellow Americans, it is time to speak up loudly and strongly and powerfully and defend the integrity of our country. We will proclaim the ideals of the Declaration of Independence. America's future is in our hands. And ladies and gentlemen, the best is yet to come. Together we are part of one of the greatest stories ever told, the story of America. It is the epic tale of a great nation whose people have risked everything for what they know is right and what they know is true. On this day, 243 years ago, our founding fathers pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to declare independence and defend our God-given rights. We will never forget that we are Americans and the future belongs to us. The spirit of American independence will never fade, never fail, but will reign forever and ever and ever. To every citizen throughout our land, have a glorious Independence Day. Have a great 4th of July. Together we are part of one of the greatest stories ever told.